Here are the stories we're covering this week in the Category 5.tv newsroom. An airplane flying nearly half a kilometer in the air was hit by a drone in Canada. It's easy to hack Subaru door locks using a Raspberry Pi. Windows 10 is under fire by the Dutch Data Protection Authority. Android ransomware DoubleLocker encrypts data and changes pins. And in security news, WPA2 has been cracked, and you need to hear about this if you use Wi-Fi. These stories are coming right up. Don't go anywhere.
Jeff Weston.
Yeah, man.
You're building a brand new, beautiful website.
What?
Aren't you?
No. Am I?
Oh, you're a terrible actor.
What?
This is where acting comes into play.
Oh, I didn't know we were acting.
You're supposed to act.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
Well, I'm building a really cool website. Are you building a really cool website? Just because Jeff is confused doesn't mean you have to be. Visit cat5.tv/dreamhost to sign up for unlimited web hosting for your website with unlimited email accounts, MySQL databases, the latest version of PHP, WordPress, and more, and even a free domain name registration. It's less than $6 per month, so sign up today. cat5.tv/dreamhost.
This is the Category 5.tv newsroom, covering the week's top tech stories with a slight Linux bias.
I'm Sasha Rickman, and here are the top stories we're following this week. Canada's Transport Minister has told drone operators to stay away from airports after a remotely piloted craft bonked a passenger plane during its final approach to Jean Lesage International Airport in Quebec City. Minister Marc Garneau hasn't revealed the model of the drone, but we do know that it hit a plane operated by Skyjet Aviation, a charter outfit that, despite its name, only operates turboprop aircraft. The three types it operates, the King Air 100 and 200, plus the Beechcraft 1900, seat 6, 10, and 19 passengers apiece. Whichever type was struck, it came away with what Garneau described as minor damage and landed safely. There's also no news on where on the plane the drone struck. As the craft landed without incident, we can assume it wasn't chopped up by the plane's propellers. Local media suggest that the plane was struck about 3,000 meters from the runway while at an altitude of 450 meters. All concerned are therefore reminding Canadian drone operators of their obligation to fly below 90 meters and at least 5.5 kilometers away from airports or face a $25,000 fine. Authorities hope to identify the drone pilot to remind them of those rules in strong language. A drone striking a propeller or being sucked into a jet engine has the potential to cause a very serious incident.
Wow. That can be very scary.
Yeah, well, I mean,
The fact that it left body damage, I mean, it wasn't significant, but, I mean, that's...
So are there, like, are there drones that are smaller that are allowed to fly closer, or is it just all drones across?
Like, we're talking, this is 3,000 meters from the airport, which I did the quick math in my head. That's 3 kilometers, folks.
Yeah.
And the minimum is 5.5. So they're already, not only are they flying well above the height limit, but they're also flying very, very close to an airport.
Yeah.
So drones can fly that high up. Like, they absolutely can.
If it's a bigger drone, I mean, this clearly wasn't a teeny drone or something like that.
Right.
You know, we're talking...
No, this is
we're talking about, a big drone.
To give you just some perspective, there was a guy on YouTube who recently posted a video, which was promptly taken down, of him flying his Phantom 2 to 3.5 kilometers into the air.
Wow.
Ooh.
Now, keep in mind that regulations say we're only allowed to fly up to 90 meters in the air.
Just a little bit over that, I think he went.
Right.
A little bit. So 3,400 is where he was at. So because these things have first-person view, you know, he might have a screen or goggles and be able to see what the drone is seeing, and so it is safe from that perspective. It's not like he's going to lose sight of it and not be able to find it. Right. But highly illegal. Highly illegal.
So then the actual law, the rule where you can't fly within like 5.5 kilometers to the airport, that $25,000 fine, is that if there's an incident, or is that if you're caught flying?
If you're caught flying as a consumer flyer, like if I or Jeff were flying our drones and we were caught breaking the rules. So these are rules that are designed to protect aircraft and other people. So it doesn't just have to do with aircraft or airports. If you're flying too close to a crowd, it falls under the same regulations. So the fine for that, to be caught, so nobody gets hurt, nothing's damaged, is up to $3,000 Canadian. Okay.
Right.
So that's about $4 for you American viewers.
Or 0.0000 Bitcoin, 0.01.
One. It's binary for nothing.
Chances are the $25,000 would be for like a serious incident where maybe a plane actually did crash. People die. Like they go to the extent.
I would hope
doesn't say they have to crash. The regulation states that it's up to $25,000 if you have endangered an aircraft or another person.
Right. I would hope that if somebody flying a drone that crashed into a plane that then crashed and killed people, that drone flyer, I would hope goes to jail. Like, I would hope that it's just not $25,000.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I would really...
Yeah, that's an extreme case.
Yeah.
And it's never happened as far as I'm aware. So
keep it low, people.
All right. Dutch electronics engineer reckons Japanese automaker Subaru isn't acting on a key fob cloning vulnerability he discovered. Tom Wimenhove claims to have discovered that Subaru's electronic keys don't use a random number. The rolling code instead merely increments codes. Wimenhove says he's built a cloning device which he has made available on GitHub and used it for a 2009 Subaru Forester. He believes it would also work on a 2006 Baja Forester models from 2005 to 2010, Impreza models from 2004 to 2011, the Legacy sedans 2005 to 2010 models, and the Outback from 2005 to 2010. His test rig only costs around $25, using a Raspberry Pi for much of the functionality. Because the key fobs simply increment the rolling code exchange between the car and the key, all an attacker needs is to be able to be close enough to capture the code used when the owner locks the car. Incrementing that code lets the attacker unlock the vehicle.
Wow.
Wow.
I drive a Subi.
Why wouldn't Subaru act on that?
Well, it could be that they don't think it's a massive vulnerability. I mean, we're talking about some vehicles. What was it,
2009?
Yeah,
it's far back.
At this point, I don't think they care. I mean, like if it was one of the 2005s, they're looking at it going, it's been like 13 years, because it's always like, you know, in 2004, the 2005s would come out. So, you know, it's been 13 years, or some of them, most of those vehicles would be off the road. It's not like it was the newer vehicle. So my guess is, from a liability standpoint, the cost factor of patching it, doing a warranty recall, switching out keys, because you'd have to replace the keys or reprogram them, plus you'd have to reprogram the vehicles. The cost probably just wasn't significant enough, or was too significant.
So then can you just sell something like that on GitHub?
GitHub is a coding base. So what it means when he's posted it on GitHub is that it's freely available. So anyone who wants to build this thing can download the instructions to do it, and the code to do it.
I don't love that.
Yeah, and I don't like to speculate too much about Subaru not having a statement from them, but knowing that you know, as you know, ethical hackers bring out these kinds of, hey, we've discovered this. There's a lot of that, because people are trying to get the cash prize for, hey, there are, you know, ethical hacker prizes. And so there comes a point when, you know, companies will certainly say, you know, we're not doing it. Microsoft comes to mind recently with the compromise on Internet Explorer.
Yes.
Where they simply said, you know, we're not worrying about the older operating systems. And there was another one in the kernel itself where they said, we're not going to patch any of them.
Yeah.
It's too far into the kernel. We're not going to touch it. We don't believe it's such a security risk as you're making it out to sound.
Yeah.
Now, others may say otherwise, but I think it's that they may perceive, this is a may because I don't know, I haven't spoken with them, but they may perceive as a company that it takes a certain level of knowledge in order to do this type of compromise, and so they don't feel as vulnerable, because it's like it wouldn't happen to me mentality.
There's such a small minority of smart people in the world, there's no problem.
Of people of that minority who would create a key fob hacking device out of a Raspberry Pi.
I'm just picturing the movie Gone in 60 Seconds, picturing Nicolas Cage walking around with a Raspberry Pi.
Just like
picking up Shelby Mustang.
You just got a whole bunch of Subaru Foresters from 2009.
Oh, dear. Okay. The Dutch Data Protection Authority has concluded that Microsoft's Windows 10 operating system breaches local privacy law on account of its collection of telemetry metadata. Personal data being harvested by default by Microsoft can include the URL of every website visited if the Windows 10 user is browsing the web with Microsoft's Edge browser and has not opted out of full telemetry, as well as data about usage of all installed apps on their device, including frequency of use, how often the apps are active, and the amount of seconds of usage of a keyboard, mouse, pen, or touch screen. Microsoft says it gathers and processes Windows 10 users' data in order to fix errors, keep devices up to date, and secure and improve its own products and services. Of course. But if users have not opted out, it also uses data from both a basic and full telemetry level to show personalized advertisements in Windows and Edge, including all apps for sale in the Windows Store, and also for showing personalized advertisements in other apps. According to the local DPA, there are more than 4 million active devices using Windows 10 Home and Pro in the Netherlands. After investigating several versions of the OS, including Windows 10 Home and Pro, the Dutch DPA said Friday it has identified multiple breaches of the data protection law. Microsoft has compiled a point-by-point rebuttal on these points of disagreements. Wow. What is telemetry?
Telemetry.
What is
telemetry metadata?
Telemetry.
It's two words.
Wow. Yeah, okay.
And that's it. That's all he's going to give you. I'll give you more.
Is it just tracking?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, this is basically information that is gathered on your Windows 10 system or other systems as well. It's now on Windows 7 and 8 and everything else. But so they are tracking your movements. This is how they are able to provide targeted advertising to, it's under the veil of improving the operating system, because they might notice that, hey, people running this particular processor are having problems opening this application, so let's manipulate something in the code. So it's under the guise of fixing things, helping improve things, but it is really collecting personal information about your usage, spying on you.
Right. So is there ever, so when they say they're using it to help, is that actually at all? Okay.
They don't say that.
Well.
That's just the guise of
it's kind of like
to improve the user.
But that's never the truth. Like, you could disable it.
There's always other motives, and again, I don't want to speculate. We know why Facebook gives you free accounts. We know why. That's
exactly
how is anything free?
This is leading to, if there's basic telemetry and then there's full.
Yeah. Which is a setting.
Okay, would it be helpful to just do basic, or should you do none at all? You
can opt out, but I think with some of the Windows updates, you got to keep an eye on it, because it'll reactivate itself, because you're given A-OK with certain I accept this license agreement, and that license agreement also turned back on full telemetry. So the difference essentially, the basic telemetry is the essentials, the bare minimum that they need in order to kind of keep track of your system and how you're using it. Then full telemetry is everything. This is something that a technician could use to actually come in and diagnose problems on your computer. Everything about your computer and how you use it.
Right. I had a visual, we were saying that, of that useless box. Like, you turn it off, it turns itself back on.
Exactly like that. That's pretty much like that. In fact, before we move on, the Windows Club actually posted a very good tutorial for you to help you so that you can disable or reduce the amount of telemetry metadata that is shared with Microsoft.
Oh, good.
That can be found on their website, thewindowsclub.com/windows-10-telemetry. And that's going to give you that information.
Go check it out.
Oh, right. Crooks have come up with a strain of Android ransomware that both encrypts user data and locks victims out of compromised devices by changing pins. Lucas Stefanko, the malware researcher at security firm ESET, who discovered DoubleLocker, said its payload can change the device's pin, preventing the victim from accessing their device, and encrypts the victim's data. Such a combination hasn't been seen yet in the Android ecosystem. He goes on to explain DoubleLocker misuses Android accessibility services, which is a popular trick among cyber criminals. The nasty is based on a banking Trojan, which means that account-compromising functionality might easily be added. The Android malware spreads in the very same way as its PC parent, as a fake Adobe Flash Player update that's pushed via compromised websites. Once launched, the app requests activation of the malware's accessibility service, named Google Play Service. After the malware obtains these accessibility permissions, it uses them to activate device administrator rights and set itself as the default home application, in both cases without the user's consent. DoubleLocker, once planted on a compromised device, creates two reasons for the victim to pay. First, it changes the device's PIN, effectively blocking the victim from using it. Second, DoubleLocker encrypts all files from the device's primary storage directory using the AES encryption algorithm. The ransom has been set at a relatively modest 0.013 Bitcoin, which is approximately $54. The only viable option to clean a non-rooted device of the DoubleLocker ransomware is via a factory reset. A way around the PIN lock on the rooted devices is possible, if not exactly straightforward. Encrypted files cannot be easily recovered. Wow.
Scary.
Scary, because now it's kind of, it really hits home. Because
it's real, folks.
It's real. It's really real
So
now.
you got to be careful of what you click on, because this is a typical social engineering tactic of, you've installed an app that you think is legitimate, and it has tricked you into giving access to certain things that probably you shouldn't have given it access to.
Right.
It is just social engineering tactics used by malicious coders. And you need to really, really be careful of what you install, where you get it from. If you have a rooted device, you need to be mindful that Cydia is probably going to be distributing things that are not approved by Google and the Google Play Store. So be very, very careful. And if you're not sure what that means, if you're not sure what rooted device means, well, it probably doesn't affect you. But you do need to be aware that malicious coders do place things in the Google Play Store to trick you into installing an app that sounds great, it's free, and it's got this, this, and this. But why exactly does this chat application need access to all of my files?
And that's the big tip-off. Now, it doesn't mean every one of those apps that asks for access to everything is a bad app.
Yeah.
But you'll usually see a couple options for whatever you're looking for, and there's one that's like, it only needs access to your camera. Then you've got others. It's everything.
Well,
watch out for it.
You kind of get like permission for fatigue or something. Like, I just sometimes don't read through it, and you have to.
That's how they get you. That's how they get you.
But then also, if they've locked me out of my phone, how am I supposed to pay them?
Well, it'll show it on the screen. Yeah. You've got a paywall on your phone that says, hey,
it just comes.
And given the fact that it's only, was it $54?
People are going to do it.
Well, that's it. It's not like it's, hey, give us $5 million. Yeah. Most people are going to, that's $54. It's just not worth going.
Yeah, all my kids' photos are on here.
Yeah. And if they were going to go to like a tech center to get their phone serviced, they're going to say, it's $150. People are going to say, it's cheaper than the service. I'll just pay it to get it unlocked.
Well, we're right out of time. Can we really quickly talk about the WPA hack that just occurred?
Yes.
Now, this is something that happened on Monday. So, Sasha, do you want to tell us about that?
Absolutely. Researchers have disclosed a serious weakness in the WPA2 protocol that allows attackers within a range of vulnerable device or access points to intercept passwords, emails, and other data presumed to be encrypted, and in some cases to inject ransomware or other malicious content into a website a client is visiting. The proof of concept exploit is called crack, short for key reinstallation attacks. The research has been a closely guarded secret for weeks ahead of a coordinated disclosure that was scheduled for 8 a.m. Monday East Coast time. A website disclosing the vulnerability said it affects the core WPA2 protocol itself and is very effective against any device, including those running the Android, Linux, Mac OS, Windows, and OpenBSD operating systems. The vulnerabilities are scheduled to be formally presented in a talk scheduled for November 1st in Dallas. The vast majority of existing access points aren't likely to be patched quickly, and some may not be patched at all.
Okay, so that is a scary fact. So some people are thinking, what is all this technobabble? What is WPA2? What is crack? What is this exploit, and what does it mean to me? If you have a phone in your pocket that when you go home, it connects to your home Wi-Fi, or you have it set up to connect to your office Wi-Fi, you're vulnerable.
Yes.
Now, the scary thing is, you are also vulnerable if you connect to the local coffee shop's Wi-Fi. But here's the fact. You have no way of knowing if the local coffee shop is clever enough to patch their device.
Right.
If they do, that's fantastic. How will you ever know? I don't feel safe anymore going to a public hotspot.
Right.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
So what does it mean? When I connect to Wi-Fi, usually that is an encrypted connection. I am connected to their Wi-Fi hotspot, and anything that I do between my device and their hotspot is encrypted, including passwords and things like that. Now, throw all that away. Now, anyone sitting in that same coffee shop can also see those things that you're doing on their device. So, it's very serious. It is, I mean, we're not seeing this in the wild, so I should say it's not something that is actively being exploited because the ethical hackers who discovered this revealed it very ethically.
Yes.
And what that means is that they let hardware manufacturers, they let Google, they let everyone know that is in the industry before they actually announced it publicly. That means the day that they announced it, 7 a.m. that day, MikroTik already had a patch for all their routers. That's the kind of results that we've seen from this. So now we're starting to see Google is starting to work on some patches for their systems. We're seeing that a lot of hardware manufacturers are already releasing firmware updates, but you have to install them. MikroTik is a great example of a company that does it right, because I can just log into the router, click on update, get the latest version, and it's done.
Yep.
But if you have a Linksys or something, even DDWRT, things like that, you may need to reflash. You may need to download a driver on your computer, a firmware on your computer, put it on a USB stick, take it over to your router, do it that way, or maybe through the LAN. You have to do it, otherwise your Wi-Fi is susceptible. You also need to delete all the Wi-Fi hotspots that you've got on your phone and only start adding ones that you know have patched against crack.
Smart. Thanks, Robbie.
I'm going home and going to update my firmware.
Update your firmware.
That's
That goes
right.
for your phones, your computers as well. If you do an apt update and then an apt upgrade on Linux, you're going to get a WPA patch already. So make sure you make that. So NEMS has already got the patch. It's automatically rolled out to all of the NEMS appliances.
Perfect.
So get it done. Update your computers, folks.
Yes.
And routers.
Big thanks to Roy W. Nash and our community of viewers for submitting stories to us this week. Thanks for watching the Category 5.TV newsroom. Don't forget to like and subscribe for all your tech news with a slight Linux bias. And for more free content, be sure to check out our website. From the Category 5.TV newsroom, I'm Sasha Rickman.